Hey guys, how's it going and thanks for coming. I'm Nick. Now, as a lot of us keep checking our bank accounts every other second for that stimulus check money, have you actually thought how to spend it? And if you have, is that the best way to spend it? Which is exactly why in this video we're going over what not to do with the stimulus check money, because that's possibly even more important than what we should be doing. I have a handful of things that we're going to discuss and unravel whether it's a good or bad decision to do those things. So let's go. The first thing, which might not be the best thing to buy, which would be stocks. Now, if this is the first thing that we think of with this extra money, we have to hold on for a second to find out if this is the best option for us. Now, don't get me wrong, investing in stocks could definitely be a great thing. You build your wealth that way. However, we have to think this through. A lot of people are struggling to have money right now. So if you invest this extra money, it's pretty obvious to think of. It's an opportunity cost. But once you invest in it, you have nothing left over. Which is why I wrote down we have to look at our immediate situation. If we're struggling right now to put food on the table, shelter, and just bare necessities, we shouldn't be thinking of investing in the future if our immediate present situation is at danger. And also a very important thing of investing is not only looking at the upside, but we also have to look at the downside, which only recently people finally realized that there is a downside to stocks. So at the very end of this idea, we really have to look at each individual person's situation. Look at your uncertainty. If you have an emergency fund, if you haven't been affected whatsoever in your job and everything is completely stable and this is literally just free money on the side as extra, then it might be a decent idea to invest in stocks. Now, also realize that the stock market is in complete disconnect with the real economy. Just realize and do some extra research and be careful. And a quick thing about stock prices right now, just because they have crashed doesn't mean that it could not go lower. Less recessions, less depressions. They went down, went back up for a little bit because people thought it was over, and then it continued down even further. So that's possible. The second thing where you might not want to use this extra money for is paying off debt. What? Yes, you heard me correctly, and let's talk about this specifically. Now, paying off debt, don't get me wrong, is a fantastic thing to do because when you have a bunch of debt, you're a slave to the lender. But we also have to look at, like we said before with stocks, we have to look at our cash situation. Opportunity cost. Once you pay down that debt, you then don't have that cash. Simple idea. However, super important. Focus on your immediate situation. Focus on food, shelter, and just bare necessities. And then if this is extra, it could be beneficial to you. Another thing we could look at is these delayed payments of, there were that mortgage forbearance thing where you could delay your mortgage payment for 3 months. I heard some people are getting up to 6 months. So you don't have to make that payment. However, the issue with that is you might owe a lump sum payment at the end of that. And at the same time, there's also like rates. Some student loans drop to 0%. A lot of just normal loans out there are deferrals. So you technically don't have to pay that debt. So you could focus on immediate things right now. So I'd say before just throwing all your money at debt, definitely confirm all your balances, all your debts, all your payments, your rates, and understand what your situation is first, and then decide if it's worth paying that down. Now, I'm not saying to not pay your debts whatsoever. If there's a payment, make the payment. Now, there has been talks relating to this delayed payments. If things do continue, or if things do get worse, let's say for student loans, I heard they're deferred for like 6 months. If there are still issues, they are talking that they will delay that even further. Now again, looking at your situation, if you have more certainty, it's a little bit more stable, and this is literally all just extra cash, then this can very much well be a good situation to pay down your debts, especially if it's at 0 interest rates and you can pay it down quicker. We have to decide if it's worth it or not. I hear the comments now. You're crazy for thinking this way. Now, the third thing where you might not want to spend this money on is saving it. Yeah, I'm going there too. Just realize every person's situation is different, and I want us thinking if you were planning on saving it, I want us to rethink if that is the best. So yes, saving in an emergency is extremely important. We're seeing that right now, because if you're having no money coming in, then you need some emergency fund money. And guess what? The emergency is happening right now. So people might be thinking like, oh, I have to save up for an emergency when it's technically going on right now. So, you know, like if you're gonna be saving it for any reason, now would be the time. But it would also make sense if you were thinking of saving for if it could get worse or if it continues. Now again, that's not a horrible way to think. That's actually a very good way to think. At the same time, just to keep our brain rolling, there's still inflation. If you're simply looking at like your savings accounts or money market accounts, their interest rates are very low comparing to an inflation which is higher, which could go higher because people are seeing that there's just tons of money printing with the Federal Reserve and the government. So it could be eating our money away, which would mean saving might actually be a bad thing. Again, there's no one-size-fits-all situation, so we could do multiple things with this money, but also realize if this does become a problem with inflation, saving becomes a horrible idea, then should we be looking into insurance, preserving our wealth? And I'm not talking about health insurance or life insurance, but I will say, because it is a fact, that there is a huge demand for gold and silver, because that preserves your wealth, not saving money in a savings account. And at the same time, those prices are going up. So maybe it could be worth it, not possibly saving all of it, but there is some real assets like gold, silver, maybe even into real estate, which could bring us into the fourth thing, which might not be a good idea, which would be investing in real estate. Now, given we're talking about $1,200, if you could buy a house for $1,200, you probably should do that like right now. Or even for married couples, $2,400. Again, if you could find a house for $2,400, you should probably lock that in. But at the same time, we have to look at that the real estate market is actually delayed. So if something happens right now, which it has, the real estate market could then see its effects 6, 12, 18 months into the future. It trickles down and there's a domino effect. So like a simple idea would be there's a bunch of unemployment happening right now. It's not like houses are just going to sell right now because people are just starting to lose their jobs. Once they start to lose their jobs, then they can't make their payments. If they can't make their payments, then real estate markets might be able to get hit if there are foreclosures. So that could be well off in advance. So these prices might go down. And this could even be during these low interest rate environments. Even if interest rates are super low, it still might not make sense to buy real estate. I mean, this is one of the reasons why real estate is pretty high, because it incentivizes people to buy real estate. Again, just to keep our minds open, but this could definitely be something to look into, keep an eye on. So maybe if you want to save to get into this into the future, that might be a pretty good idea. Heck, if everything crashes, you could buy a house for $2,400. Now, the fifth thing that you definitely shouldn't use your stimulus money to is a car. Now, unless you don't own one and you need one, it would kind of make sense. But if you have one and are thinking of upgrading or just getting something new, I would say that's one of the stupidest things we could do at this point. Crazy story. I saw a commercial yesterday that they were giving, I believe it was a lease or a loan, something like that, of 0% APY for 7 years. I mean, that alone could almost tell you how bad the auto industry is getting hit. But the problem is what they don't tell you at, you look at 0%. Wow, it's like getting a car for free. No, look at your payments. If you're getting an APY, that means you're either getting a lease or a loan, which means you have a car payment. And guess what? If you have unstable income, you don't have a job, you still have a payment to go through. So this would actually hurt you even more, and we would struggle more than what we already are. Another reason why I will fight against leases, because you will always have a payment. If you have a paid off car, in this situation, it's actually great because you don't have to pay for a car. Moving into the sixth thing, which might not be the best idea, which would be buying a vacation or buying vacation tickets. Now, right now, they're probably very, very low because no one's buying these things, especially with like airline tickets. They're probably dirt cheap. Now, unless you're planning on having a vacation in your backyard, if we haven't realized this, we're actually in a recession right now. There's unstable money, unstable jobs, instability just overall, especially into the future. If you're trying to sacrifice your current stability to enjoy some point in the future, I don't really think that's a smart idea. I mean, if we look at just the personal debt, I heard personal debt has increased 90% due to what's happening right now. And it makes sense because people are losing their jobs, so they're probably racking up even more credit card debts. No one really knows when things are going to get back to normal, and just going anywhere puts you and your family at risk. I hate to have this negativity, but this is reality. We're going through hard times and we can't shy away from it. We can't just wish this away. It's still there and it's still going on. If you were seriously considering this, maybe once things become more stable and you know what's possibly going to happen in the future, then this could make a little bit more sense. Now, the seventh thing, which might not be the best thing to buy with the money, is extra supplies. And I'm really focusing on overstocking. Now, people have been just panicking and going crazy and just buying everything they possibly can. Don't get me wrong, it's great to have supplies because we obviously need that, especially during this time. Maybe having a little extra of what's necessary could be a good thing. But if we're just constantly overstocking what we already have, we might not be looking at other areas of our life that might need attention and money in it. So that's why we need a good balance, not with the supplies that we need, but just everything that we could use with this stimulus money. There's not one thing that we could buy. We should have multiple forms of a lot of different things. We still do need food. We need shelter. We need water. At the same time, we need community and friends and family. At a safe distance, of course. So for this one, I just wanted us to take a step back. We don't need 100 rolls of toilet paper. If we're focusing that much on one thing, we might want to step back and look at something else in our life that needs attention. So it might have been controversial on most of these things because I wanted to open our minds a bit, but I know what everyone's probably thinking. The eighth thing that we shouldn't use the money for is taxes. They don't know what to do with this money, so they have delayed the tax date. So why should you pay them now when you could wait until July 15th? Now, if you have a rebate and you're able to get that money, yeah, you should do that now. But if you owe someone some money, why not wait until then? That's like taking the money that they're giving you and giving it back to them. I completely disagree with that, and I'm pretty sure 99.9% of the people would probably think of that as well. So this is probably the least controversial thing. Maybe not, I don't know, unless some politicians are listening. But hopefully this got your mind opening up a little bit. If we had a specific thing we were thinking of using this money for, we have to remain open. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you completely disagree with any of these, let us know. Or if you want to add any to this list, definitely do that. So hit this video with a thumbs up so other people could learn from this as well. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. I've been producing a lot of them recently for you guys, and I'll see ya in the next one.